You see, look at that. Hickory handle. There you go. You are looking at the absolute peak of hammer engineering. I was introduced to Lindsay Nikole because of Casual Geographic and because of you guys. And I have not really regretted anything about it. So, today, we're going to be checking out the evolution of the hammerhead. Because sharks are fun. Sharks are cool. We like sharks. Everything about sharks is fundamentally awesome except being in the water with them, okay? Look, I understand for some TikTok clout you might dive in the water with a great white and start swimming alongside of it, but that's not my bag, okay? I understand that that thing turns around and looks at me. I just became lunch, and there's not really that much I can do about it because I was dumb enough to get into the water with an apex predator. I don't mess with grizzly bears or anything like that, and the chances of a shark attack are excessively low. But you know what? If I was going to win the lottery at any one point, that would be it, and I don't feel like it. Guys, Lindsay is going to tell us about the evolution of the hammerhead shark here. A shark that quite literally looks like an absolute alien. And there's so many different types of this thing that it actually kind of boggles the mind just how many and how varied ocean life is. So, if you guys like Casual Geographic, you're gonna like this. I highly recommend you go check out Lindsay and let me know what you think in the comments section down below. It's time to watch some Shark Week, guys, even though it's not Shark Week because, well, now we have the people from Jackass doing Shark Week, and I mean, that's all well and good if you still like Jackass, but anyhow, let's get right into it. Warpugs, as I said before, all links in the description down below. Let's go.
You know the hammerhead shark? Obviously you do.
Yay!
Sharks named such for the hammer-like nature of their head. Objectively, it looks like some weird alien prehistoric shit that should have been lost to time, but hasn't. And I have some questions about it. The big one, why? Evolutionary. At first glance, it doesn't make sense. But it turns out, these aren't the only hammerheads that have been found in nature. So today we're going to try to answer how the evolution allowed the hammerhead to happen. Let's get the general information out of the way.
I just got motion sickness. I now will cry.
By first figuring out what the fuck I'm actually talking about. The
Let's
hammer
go.
shape has appeared in many different animals for many different reasons and at many different times. Makes sense. It's a very simple shape that eventually took the form as a very simple tool. A tool that humans and our ancestors have been using in its simplest form since like 3.3 million years ago. But, of course, that was really just a rock that was used to hammer shit. Didn't have
It's a rock!
Have that recognizable hammer shape we love today. That came maybe 32,000 years ago. And since then, the hammer as a tool has developed with different materials, different shapes, till eventually the hammer you probably have in your home looks something like this. Very avant-garde, all things considered. But when you
I know, right? It's sleek, it's beautiful. It's got a hickory handle and a waffle head. It's good.
you think of a hammer in its simplest form, strip away the bells and whistles, you probably think of a shape more like a mallet, a sledgehammer, a club hammer, perhaps. Obviously, a hammerhead.
You see, look at that. Hickory handle. There you go. You are looking at the absolute peak of hammer engineering.
Shark definitely looks more like this than this. So that's the shape I'm talking about. Now I'm gonna get more specific. Because you can identify hammers everywhere in nature. Exhibit A. That fuck-ass prehistoric ungulate that looks like it has a hammer for a nasal horn. Megacerops. And the vibe is kind of there, but it really looks more like a slingshot. And also, that's not what I'm talking about.
Now, wouldn't it be awesome if you could ride those in a battle and use those horns as artillery pieces to launch weapons at your enemies? I'm just saying.
Exhibit B. The hammerhead bat. Definitely has the density and snout shape of a hammer. But I don't want this. I want this. Same thing with the hammerhead bird, or the hammercock. Although its head is literally the same shape as a household hammer, this is not the shape we're talking about. I want this. And eyes at the ends.
Yay.
Shark, etc. I'm also not talking about snails because, although you could technically say, eventually, a snail's eye stalks must go horizontal. But I want fixed. Hammer. Stretched out. Eyes. Boom. Grotesque.
Yes.
What the fuck is up with that? That's the question I'm interested in. What the fuck is up with this? All right, we're gonna start off with the one you're probably most interested in, the hammerhead shark. If you clicked on this video more interested in the fly or the Tully Monster, you're a freak, and I like that. If you clicked on this video for the shark, understandable, they're sick as fuck. But don't leave once the shark section is over, okay? Stick around, please.
Okay, okay, I will. I'll just, we'll be here. We'll be here. Cool beans.
All right. Hammerhead
Sweet.
sharks have been around for millions of... I just knocked my, what do they fucking call it? Roomba. Put my off-brand Roomba in the worst place possible. Just get out of here.
There you go.
Anyway, hammerhead sharks have been around for millions of years. Fossils from the base of this lineage have been found from like 45 million years ago. And genetic studies place the modern hammerheads we know and love today at about 20 million years old. So, old as fuck. Plenty of time to produce a variety of shapes and sizes.
Yep.
9 species of hammerhead sharks we have left alive today. They
Sweet.
get from like 3 to 18 feet long. And in some species, the width of the hammer can be up to half the length of their body. Like take their body length and then cut it in half and then put it up on the hammer. Boom. It's huge. Makes them look weird. Makes them look very strange. That hammer in sharks is called a cephalofoil. Gotta be honest, that name doesn't speak to me at all. I feel like it doesn't represent how badass the hammer looks. But my opinion doesn't matter at all. So I guess I'm just saying that to give you a reason as to why I'm gonna keep calling it the hammer rather than the cephalofoil.
Just call it the hammer. That's the new scientific name. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Let's go.
This hammer is already pretty straightforward. So anyway, the hammers aren't always that thick in the hammerhead sharks. That kind of length is found in wing heads, but it can get as narrow as bonnet heads, which are much more dainty, very little bo peep. You might assume that the earlier hammerheads must have looked more like bonnet heads, and they got more stretched out over time to wing heads. But no, it's opposite. Shit was pronounced from the jump. And over time, species diversified into more modest builds.
Okay.
Because nature never gives shit to you straight. And one shark build I want to tell you about is surf shark. Another shark that, instead of another hammerhead, is a VPN. An app and browser extension that lets you virtually migrate across oceans with just a single click. Like the mouth of your favorite cartilaginous fish. Surf shark will slash through blocked apps and websites you might not have access to in your region. And they just so happen to be the sponsor of today's video. When I was in Kenya last month, surf shark ended up being crucial for my time at the airport. I really like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Ha!
That is my comfort show at the moment. It's on HBO Max. I've probably watched every episode like 12 times. Turns out, even though I downloaded 2 seasons, HBO Max isn't available in Kenya, and I panicked. But then
This is the reason why we need more outreach and everything like that. We just need it.
I remembered. Surfshark.
Yay!
Quickly switched my location back to the US, and boom, Larry David galore. I also used it to get cheaper flight tickets for Gian to come meet me in Namibia. Made my money on the subscription back with a single click. On top of that, Surfshark encrypts your data, so no one will be able to see what you're doing, as if you were a shark moving through the deep, open ocean. And they have an exclusive deal for you, i.e. a viewer of this channel. You can use my code Lindsay to get an extra 4 free months on your subscription. An absolutely sick deal that you can find at the link in the description. And if you're still a bit hesitant about trying it, Surfshark has a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can see what you think. Surfshark is your own hammerhead shark, slashing through virtual restrictions while also keeping you safe and secure. Go check it out. Now, back to the evolution of the hammerhead. As well as the diversification of the big hammer itself, which raises the big question. Why the fuck did the hammer evolve in the first place? There are 3 main ideas. We're going to go through each of them. Number 1 has to do with their sensory system. Sharks as a whole are one of the more famous groups of animals that use electroreception to perceive their environment. They do this by using electroreceptors, or electroreception, which is detecting electric fields. Very sick, very badass.
Yes.
Hammerheads, with their wide-ass surface area, are able to do it much more efficiently because all the electroreceptors get spread out over a wider area. All that room for fucking flat. Basically gives them a broader scan field while hunting prey buried in the sand.
So basically this like biological radar. It's actually really, really, really fucking awesome when you look at it for more than like 2 or 3 minutes. The way that this thing evolved and what it primarily predates on, this thing is quite literally, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, it is the equivalent of it is the shark equivalent of an old man, older than me, walking down the beach with a metal detector, and I'm not kidding when I say that.
The bigger the hammer, the bigger the field. Makes sense. You might be thinking that allows their eyes to be practically useless, which is why they're able to be stretched the fuck out like that. Good electroreception, don't need sight. But no, that's wrong. Despite this filthy setup, it actually gives hammerheads a nearly 360-degree field of vision, something your Latin grandmother can only dream of having. The second idea has to do with prey handling, but this is specific to specific hammerheads. So some species, like scalloped hammerheads, love to go after stingrays. Turns out, a big, flat head It's perfect for shoving a stingray down into the sea floor, pinning it while you go in for a bite. Can't go
There you
anywhere
go.
if the head holding it down is all flat. Spread the fuck out. And the third idea is movement. There's been this idea floating around that the hammer acts like a wing that helps with maneuverability or gives the shark extra lift while swimming. Scientists tested this using fluid dynamics models, and the results were mixed. When a hammerhead is swimming straight, the lift from the hammer is not really there. Actually, the drag sucks, up to 10 times more than normal shark heads. So you're paying a big energy cost to push that flat face through the water.
Right.
But things get interesting when the shark raises or lowers its head. Creates a pressure differential above and below the hammer, which helps the shark pitch its head up or down really fast. Like that. That snap movement is ideal if you're chasing quick fish and other prey. Some researchers also found that the awkward front-heavy hammer shape might help prevent banking into turns so the shark stays level, even when whipping around on the sea floor, not smacking your face into sediment.
That's a preferable thing.
Turns out, inside their heads, they've got these extra muscle groups that most other sharks just don't have. They wrap around the spine, let them raise and lower their heads with force, something other sharks can't do. Which is sick. Why exactly the hammer shape evolved in these sharks is a whole mix of these reasons, which becomes even more complex depending on which species you're talking about. Obviously, different species use the hammer in different ways based on the different shapes. Species that go after fast fish or stingrays tend to have bigger, broader hammers. And then those that feed on slower stuff, like benthic creatures at the bottom of the sea floor, tend to have smaller, more compact heads. Unfortunately, though, none of them use their heads like we use hammers. Because the thing about...
What would you say if they found a bunch of hammerheads building a civilization by smashing their faces into rocks? Why am I having weird thoughts at this time of night?
The hammer is that it existed on the hammerhead before hammers even existed. So they have it right and we don't.
Yeah.
I guess. It's just the way the cookie crumbled. All right, the next hammerhead on the list is a bit more unusual. In fact, it's a complete and total freak. The hammerhead fly. This is one weird bitch. Found throughout the tropics, your Central and South America, your Caribbean islands, even your southern United States. There are 3 species of hammerhead flies. They belong to the genus Plagiocephalus, which roughly translates to slanted head. That is dead on. This fly is slanted, twisted, and obscene. Hammerhead flies belong to a larger group of flies called the diopsids, stock-eyed flies. Yeah, just look grotesque in general. Have all sorts of sick configurations. When I say sick, in this case, I don't mean cool. Usually I mean cool, but in this case, I mean sick and twisted. This is sick and twisted. So it's not surprising that in their form experimentation,
it's a bug. I definitely get it.
A couple of them went full 180, spread the fuck wide open, hammerhead, stick. One of the hammerhead species can have eye stalks 5 times the length of their body. That is sick and twisted. So what is this? What's up with this? Well, this seems to be a different story than the hammerhead sharks.
Okay.
You probably guess. The hammerhead flies, and stock-eyed flies in general, are not interested in electroreception. Instead, sexual selection. Yeah. The ladies love this shit. Hubba hubba, who's the beefcake? Unlike pretty much all other flies, these stock projections are a male thing. This is just guy stuff, cool guy stuff. Bigger stalks equals more chicks. And when 2 males meet, they size each other up, spread out their stalks and their front legs to look as massive as possible. And the guy with the smaller stalks usually backs off.
That's what she said.
Or will get little man syndrome and try to knock the bigger guy over. But in general, usually backs off if he knows what's good for him. Because yeah, the ladies like them big and flashy.
Pause.
Probably because long eye stalks means good genes. Building and maintaining these long stalks takes serious energy. So a male who can keep them flashy even when food is scarce is signaling he's a high quality man and stress resistant, which means high quality stress resistant kids probably. Stock-eyed flies seem to have been around for a long time.
It's so weird when you see things that are used in sexual selection in nature because of the sheer fact that some of them cause evolutionary bottlenecks and evolutionary dead ends because they just generally get the males killed off.
And some found trapped in amber that dates to about 15 million years old. And the stock-eyed fly's eye itself is insanely complex. Each eye is covered in about 2,000 facets, which are those individual units that make up compound eyes. It's almost 3 times as many facets as basic fruit flies. They are spherical rather than flat, which gives them excellent multi-directional light gathering. But there is a trade-off. The longer the stalks, the less overlap between the visual fields on the 2 eyes, reducing binocular vision. Yeah, there's no fucking way this thing can see everything around it. I'm sorry. Also, on top of that, those elongated stalks make flying much more difficult.
Yeah, I don't doubt.
Nearly as sharply as short-stalked cousins. Sockeye flies max out at about 860 degrees per second in turning speed, while other flies hit over 2,000.
Huh.
So yeah, sexual selection strikes once again. This is definitely a survival of who gets to bang the most instead of a survival of the fittest scenario. So, to recap, we've got hammerheads for better electroreception, hammerheads for better field of vision with a limit, and hammerheads to pick up chicks. Now I want to turn to the most mysterious of all, the Tully Monster.
What in the absolute hell is this creature?
Arguably the weirdest animal to ever exist, that we know of. It's actually so weird and twisted that scientists can't even figure out if it's a vertebrate or an invertebrate. Or maybe they kind of did, but it has been up in the air for a very long time. That is seemingly some of the most basic shit you can know about an animal. But somehow, the Tully Monster seems to defy any classification. But you'll notice their eyes, hammer-like formation. And so, I want to talk about them again. Maybe you know, maybe you don't, that the Tully Monster was actually the topic of my first ever long form video on YouTube, like 3 years ago. No need to go watch it, because I'm going to give you the rundown now. And I think my presentation style has improved dramatically since then, so I actually don't want you to watch it. I will give you a quick summary here instead, in case you don't know what the fuck this is. Actually, nobody knows what the fuck this is, but you know what I mean. So, the main difference between a vertebrate and an invertebrate is the presence of a backbone, right? Also things like a rod-like structure called a notochord, gills. Those are vertebrate things. And this is what Tully Monster fossils look like. Impressions. Looks like a soft-bodied blob. No backbone. So for a long time, since it was discovered in 1958, scientists were like, invertebrate, duh. Until 2016, when a team used something called synchrotron elemental mapping to analyze the chemicals in the fossils by shooting light or radiation at it. They found traces of a notochord, a vertebrate thing. And this shook the scientific community to shit. Since then,
Everything you believed is a lie.
Several different groups of scientists have analyzed these fossils using all sorts of chemical science equipment, not worth specifying, but all cool and sick. Sick as in cool. It's gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And as of 2023, seems to have landed on the vertebrate side of the argument. Either true vertebrate or very close relative of vertebrates. But because of all this hubbub, the eyes extending on sideways stalks have only really been analyzed to figure out if specific vertebrate melanosomes could be found in them and prove it's a vertebrate or whatever. Which is obviously very important and much more pressing than why sideways? Because how can you ask why sideways if you don't even know what the fuck you're looking at? But now I want to bring up why sideways. I guess this is not really a question I'm going to be able to fully answer for you. More so a fun little time to think about based on our vertebrate hammerhead, our invertebrate hammerhead, what could be going on with our non-binary debrate hammerhead? Why? Well, field of vision came up in both before, and turns out the Tully Monster did have a lens and melanosomes in each eye, which suggests they had pretty good vision. So having them stretched out like that probably helped with their field of vision as well. It must have. Why else? But can it be anything else? In both others, the hammerheads seem to have...
The question is, can it blend?
...have multiple purposes. So this is where I just start making shit up.
Yay!
Sexual selection, like leopard slugs, but in a Tully Monster fashion. Maybe two Tully Monsters would go like this, and then twist their eye stalks together as a mating ritual, and then bang. Maybe they smacks their eye stalks together as part of their dance to find a mate. Maybe rather than twisting them together, they just boom. Or
that would that would hurt. That would bother me on a fundamental level if I saw that happening in the wild.
Maybe they could move them around like snails, but then that just defeats the purpose of me having them in the video. I said snails weren't allowed. So scratch that one. What else could it be? That's all I can really think of. That's my list. So you know what? Come up with your own ideas of why the Tully Monster had sideways eye stalks like a hammerhead, and let me know in the comments. And make it weird. I want it weird. I want to hear some weird shit. Please, indulge in a little cannabis if you want to. Make it sick and twisted. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Extinct, where I got a lot of my favorite extinct animals tattooed on me. Like,
yay!
Whatever, cut that. Check out my Patreon for behind the scenes updates and our Discord server. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. But for now, stay curious. The world has a lot for us to learn. See ya! Okay, so I think you can see why I enjoy Lindsay here. I think you can see why I enjoy. If you have not seen her before, I'm hoping that you'll go check her out. Links are going to be in the description below. Now, here's the thing, okay? The way these things hunt is just absolutely mind-numbing when you take a look at how nature developed and gave them the tools they needed to do the kind of hunting that they do. Stingrays, crustaceans, things of that nature. They
are adapted perfectly for. They've been around for millions of years and they have changed very little. It's one of those things where you take a look at a species that has been around like so long at this point and has changed so little. Nature got it right with them, okay? They don't have anything to really evolve to solve as far as a problem goes. It's like crocodiles. Crocodilians have largely remained unchanged except for size, like the Suchomimus, since the time of the dinosaurs. Then yeah, they have been larger. A couple of larger species died out, but they mostly look the same and hunt the same. And there's a reason behind that, because they didn't need to change. Warpugs, let me know what you think in the comments section down below. If you would, check out Lindsay's video, comments down description down below. Put a like on it, hit subscribe on her, do the same for me. I'd much appreciate it. Head on down, get yourself a shirt. Let me know what you think in the comments, okay? Now, as far as the bugs, I'm not a big fan of weird bugs. I'm not a fan of bugs in general. And I'm not a fan of being in the water with an apex predator, which is why I will sit here and I will look at the happy looking shark and I will be like, okay, swim on, you glorious bastard. But until then, Warpugs, I hope you have a great night. I hope you learned something. And I'll catch you guys next time. Join as a member of Patreon for early access. Later, Warpugs.